Absolutely massive news. Florian Wirtz could be the most expensive signing in the history of British football, in the history of the Premier League. We're looking at a transfer now agreed between Bayer Leverkusen and Liverpool for close to £116.5 million. It's absolutely huge, and we're going to talk about the repercussions of this transfer on the Liverpool side going for the Premier League title next season. Obviously, Man City have made a lot of moves in the summer as well. We'll talk about maybe a comparison between both sides, and of course, you have to talk about how exciting this is for the Premier League. We see Kevin De Bruyne flying to Naples. He's getting a massive hero's welcome at the airport. And you're thinking, actually, Salah's in his 30s. All these big icons in the Premier League, it almost feels like they're on the precipice of leaving. Who will be the next big names in the Premier League? I'd say Erling Haaland is a big one, of course. Maybe Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United. He might not even be there at the start of the season. But Florian Wirtz, 22 years old, an absolute icon of German football. I dare say it, from my understanding of Florian Wirtz in terms of the German football landscape, he's right up there with Götze. He's right up there with Schweinsteiger in terms of German international kind of world-class talents. I'd say Schweinsteiger hit the heights that was always destined of him, maybe not Götze. Ultimately, this deal is very, very expensive. It's a lot of money for a footballer, £116.5 million. What I think works better for Liverpool ultimately is that if the deal doesn't quite work out, I'm not saying it will, by the way, I think it is a fantastic signing, but if it doesn't work out, it isn't the British record transfer because there's a lot of add-ons. And if the add-ons are met, which would mean Liverpool are a very, very successful side in the next couple of years, which unfortunately for a lot of football fans maybe watching this video, I could see that happening as well, particularly into the start of next season. Then suddenly Florian Wirtz does become the British record transfer. If he doesn't hit the heights, if anything happens, then ultimately the deal doesn't add up to being a record transfer. So it's on that kind of borderline where £100 million is comparable to what Chelsea is spending on defensive midfielders. And they don't bring the excitement, the joy, the wonder that Florian Wirtz will be bringing to Liverpool, because this guy is absolutely exceptional. It's very interesting to compare Florian Wirtz, the kind of numbers that we're talking about, to some of the most expensive transfers in the history of the Premier League. Number one at the moment is Enzo Fernandez. So I think you could honestly say Florian Wirtz comes in, does a fantastic job. He only has to do a couple of seasons scoring banging goals. He doesn't have to hit the heights for 10 years. Because ultimately, Chelsea spent so much money and diluted the market, and Man United spent so much money, diluted the market, that actually £100 million for a flair player, an exciting player that can do wonderful things, it isn't that expensive, weirdly, based on what Chelsea's spending on Caicedo for a similar amount of money, £100 million. I'm a huge fan of Jack Grealish. He hasn't hit the heights in terms of pure numbers, goals and assists. I'd say he was fantastic in the treble-winning season. And then you're looking at Declan Rice, who's talking three defensive midfielders and a player that doesn't score many goals or assists. Liverpool getting a player that scores one goal every two, or at least a goal or an assist every one in every two. It's absolutely outrageous. Last season, 12 goals. For Bayer Leverkusen. I think the interesting thing for Bayer Leverkusen always will be the fact that they ended an 11-year domination by Bayern Munich, and Florian Wirtz was at the heart of it. It's really interesting hearing journalists and people that study the Bundesliga and watch the Bundesliga religiously that Xabi Alonso gave this guy so much freedom. And if Xabi Alonso is giving Florian Wirtz that much freedom in such a successful side, it's very, very conducive to the idea that Florian Wirtz can be trusted to be creatively responsible by himself, to do things single-handedly, and ultimately be the creative driver of a very, very successful Bayer Leverkusen side that were fighting on multiple fronts, could have won a treble. Let's be completely real. And Florian Wirtz was at the heart of it. I saw Andy Robertson talk about the deal as well. Really interesting, because obviously Florian Wirtz would have played against Liverpool last season. But Andy Robertson talks about Florian Wirtz at the Euros. And I remember this. This was the opening game of the Euros. Germany absolutely rinsed Scotland, which there's no big surprise there. Let's be completely real. But I remember Florian Wirtz in that game and throughout the tournament. It was a poor Germany side, which is very rare in international football, more common recently. But Florian Wirtz was an absolute standout, and he rinsed Scotland. He was picking up the ball on the left a little bit, cutting in on his right, running past people. Absolutely huge. I think actually when we talk about the Florian Wirtz transfer, we don't actually talk about his record for Germany. Very, very strong. Scored recently for Germany as well. So he's a starter for one of the most successful international sides in world football. I think especially with the World Cup coming up as well, he could be an absolute superstar at the back end of next World Cup as well. Positionally, very, very juicy what could happen with Florian Wirtz. The more I read about the links of Diaz going to Barcelona, Nunes being linked away to Saudi Arabia, is our world Florian Wirtz plays on the left with someone like Gakpo maybe down the middle, Jota down the middle, someone else down the middle. Florian Wirtz on the left is something that I'm seeing a little bit more of. Obviously, I think you see him as a number 10 centrally, and you see Florian Wirtz with Gravenberch and McAllister. But there might be a little bit of rotation for Arne Slot. He's got a player. Whatever you say about Florian Wirtz, his physicality, maybe certain aspects to his height in the Premier League, I don't think that's fair criticism of the player, by the way, because I think he'll adapt. And you look at someone like David Silva, look at someone like Bernardo Silva that is doing so well in the Premier League, and they're a little bit similar to Florian Wirtz in terms of their physicality. But I think the interesting thing for Arne Slot is that whatever you say about the money that Liverpool's spending on this guy, he's got versatility. So if it doesn't quite work out in number 10, I think he's so naturally gifted as a footballer. You could see him as a false nine. You could see him as a left wing, as I'm saying. False nine is very interesting as well. It's all well and good saying, Liverpool could get a number 9, get someone to replace Jota or Nunes, whoever. But actually, Florian Wirtz could be that extra man. They keep Szoboszlai in midfield. They keep Curtis Jones in midfield alongside Gravenberch and McAllister. And you have Florian Wirtz dropping into midfield and maybe packing the midfield. And you can maybe change that Liverpool formation a little bit, particularly the way they got a little bit outrun by PSG, particularly at the away leg for PSG at Anfield. That midfield of Neves, Vitinha, that you can't criticise it because PSG went on to win the tournament. But I think Liverpool could do with an extra man in midfield. I've said it for a couple of seasons now. They tried to get Caicedo, they tried to get Lavia, obviously different players to Wirtz, but you could see a world where Wirtz comes into midfield, there's a bit more possession, a little bit more control. It feels like an Arne Slot signing. It feels like a silky kind of playmaker that will fit the Arne Slot system. Arne Slot, kind of second generation of Arne Slot now. We're seeing links to Kerkez. There's obviously Frimpong that's going to buy into the system, has played with Wirtz as well, so is going to know certain passing avenues and certain understanding with him if he operates on any part of the right hand side of the pitch. So that's interesting as well. But whatever you say about it, Arne Slot is being backed. It's almost a reward for trying to for not spending much money last season, and he gets a Premier League title out of it, a League Cup final performance, incredible in the Champions League. He's now being rewarded and backed in the right way. These transfers had to happen for Liverpool, and Florian Wirtz feels a little bit like a discounted transfer because of the lack of activity last season, of course. This is a very good deal, let's be completely real. It's a fantastic transfer, and I think whatever you say, even if you're a rival fan watching this, the Premier League needs superstars, and this guy is on the precipice of being one of the best footballers in world football. These are the facts. It might be concerning if you're a Man United fan or an Arsenal fan, but ultimately you need the best of the best, the creme de la creme, to come to the Premier League and rip it up, and make it competitive, make it exciting. Viewing figures are down, and Florian Wirtz will certainly arouse interest in football fans, new generations of football fans. At 22 as well, it's a very, very exciting transfer. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've made it this far. Give me your thoughts on Florian Wirtz, and I'll see you very, very soon.